What's up, everybody? Spraggy here, back with Poker VIP for TonyBet week. We are playing some cash games on the, which side is that? Left-hand side, we've got a 25-50 cent euro cash game. And on the right-hand side, we are playing on the Poker VIP cash game table, 5 cent, 10 cent. I'm just going to stick with the two tables today because getting 3 in, it gets a little bit of overlap and, you know, it doesn't fit as cleanly on the screen for you guys. So, we'll see what we can do. I think someone's already called me out here as being a fish. I assume this is potentially somebody from the Poker VIP forums. So we'll see what's up on this, as I say, Poker VIP cash game table, 5 cent, 10 cent. And on the left-hand side, of course, we are playing some 25-50. These games run, the 25-50 games have been running all morning, 3-4 tables. A lot of the same people in the lineup. Ernesto over here. Again, on the right-hand side, is playing in the 5 cent, 10 cent game as well. So we'll see what's up here. I imagine he's some sort of regular of some description. Our queens on the left-hand side do not flop particularly well, as you can see. We're going to check back, or we're going to c-bet. I mean, we would c-bet this board with basically all of our air. So we can probably extend for value here versus a big blind defense range with a view to checking back turns. It is a very, very dry board. If he does check raise, we do see the check raise. I mean, I'm not entirely inclined to believe this. He's repping ace-4, ace-7, 7s and 4s. Not too many hands. And on such a dry board, I would anticipate some check calls with those hands. So I'm going to continue with my queens, even though obviously we have a lot of aces that would want to defend here as well. And he checks turn, which I think is a good sign. We are going to check behind. Not an ideal river. I don't think he starts bluffing again now. If he goes for the check raise with the bluff and doesn't follow through on the turn, I think it's very unlikely that he follows through. He expects me, once I call flop, he expects me to have some sort of connection that I don't imagine folds. He does go for the pot size bet, and with the backdoor flush getting there as well, I think it's just going to be a fold here. We have a lot of stronger hands in our range that would be able to call here. We would have ace-9 for sure. We'd probably bet ace-7, ace-4 ourselves on the turn, but we'd have like ace-10, ace-queen, ace-jack, we're going to bet turn. But we have ace-x of clubs as well that bet calls flop for pot control. Or checks back turn for pot control, rather, if we have something like ace-8 of clubs and backdoor the nuts. So I'm not worried about folding queens. We could definitely just check back the flop there, but I think against the big blind, I don't mind a bet. It sucks a little bit when he check raises, but as I said, he's not repping too many hands of value. I wouldn't be surprised if he did end up backdooring something there. Although I suppose if he turns clubs, he's going to bet it some of the time. But he can still have some like backdoor 2 pairs and whatnot. Right hand side with king 9, we'll take a flop multi-way here. We do flop the 3 kings. Probably just going to lead it out. I don't think anyone's going to stab this board particularly wide, so leading probably is our best play. Better turn auto rebuy on. These guys seem to know each other. I hope, unless they're just abusing in the chat. We'll go for a half pot bet on the turn now. He can definitely have picked up a queen if he has hearts. Get called by some flush draws as well. River is a relative brick. We need to bet small if we're going to bet here to try and get called by a queen. It's going to have to be a crying call, right? Like, he's not going to be happy about calling down 3 streets on this board. We may even be able to get called by something like pocket 7s, pocket 8s if we take the small sizing. Kind of a weird one if he raises. I don't expect it to happen too often. But with my sizing as it is, I guess I'm calling. We're going to induce some percentage of the time. I imagine folding would be a mistake. On the left-hand table at 25-50, we've got a min raise from Loraka. With that sizing choice on the turn on this board, I would assume this guy is a recreational player. He's also not using the auto reload, but that's an assumption that I think we're pretty safe to make at that point, given what we've seen. Obviously, we're not getting involved with the 2-4. We've been having a lot of fun, for those of you who caught the stream during this TonyBet week. We've been having a lot of fun in the 5 cent, 10 cent games with Poker VIP members, so feel free to get involved in those when these games are running. They do tend to play a little bit looser than your regular 5-cent, 10-cent game. We are going to call here in position with ace-jack against Ernesto. I think because Ernesto's playing the 25-50 as well, he may be being pretty aggressive in a 5-cent, 10-cent game. Going to call here. Behold my short-stacking meg skills. Be prepared to embrace losses you have never experienced before. I'm ready. We're going to bet turn with the 2-pair. Obviously calling off. Huge value spot for us. Sadly, Ernesto does give it up. Left-hand side with a 3-5 of hearts. We see a limp, so again, I'm pretty sure this guy is a more recreational fun player. See what we can flop here. We flop very well. We're just gonna take a stab. We got 5 high, so if we can ever get anything to fold, that's gonna be a good proposition for us. And if we do get called or we get raised, we have a very decent number of outs to make potentially nutted hand. Pick up a pair. We're going to start with a check. We got some showdown value now, a little bit. It's best here to go for a check call rather than a bet where you potentially raise the turn and then we're inflating the pot out of position. Obviously, getting less likely that we make the nuts, but definitely going to call here. And we do brick off. Hopefully check, check, and we can beat... Crikey, I don't know what we can beat, to be honest. 9-10 of hearts. Definitely not calling a river bet here. So if Loraka wants to win the €6 in the middle, all he's got to do is bet. But he does check, and we do somehow pull out a win. Let's check check what our guy had. Where are we here now? The clock, the time. We must travel back in time to find out. 3-5 of hearts. He had 4-2 suited, which was bottom pair, bet the turn. So, yeah, limping the 4-2 suited, betting that turn instead of checking back and, trying to get closer to showdown. I think pretty safe to say this guy's just having a good time. So, our strategy now should really adjust in that we think Ernesto's a reg. I've seen Paputos playing quite a few tables in the 25-50 games here on TonyBet. So, our strategy now should have really revolved around trying to isolate Loraka, play in position against him, make value bets against him, let's not bluff him too much and stuff like that. Whenever you spot someone like this at the table who's clearly not implementing what you would consider strong strategies, you have to target that in order to best maximize our winnings. Right hand side with a queen 10, most likely taking flops to some capacity. I was going to try and get a 10-25 game running, but I think because the Poker VIP tables are 5-10, I think that's why they fill up with the Poker VIP members. So since it's a Poker VIP video for TonyBet Week, I'm happy to play with you guys. If anybody's watching this video at the table, say hi in the comments. What up? Obviously, we've got some lighting issues as well. Sometimes the sun disappears on me. There we go. I'm back in the world of the light. I mean, we have a decent amount of equity here. 2 overs, potentially live on the queen. 10s are less, interesting card for us. We have the open-ended straight draw too. Definitely gonna call. Yeah, the sun's out and I look like I'm burning up again. Good stuff. We are going to check the turn. Ernesto does check back. I don't anticipate too many ace-x. Like, I don't think he bets here with, like, ace-jack. Ace-queen, ace-king. Maybe he bets ace-10. Ace-9. I doubt he bets ace-8, ace-7. So we are going to bluff the ace. I imagine ace-7 and ace-8 are checkbacks for him on the flop. We do end up getting called by the ace-king. Not sure this is going to be a hand you want to see bet on 7-8-9. A little bit unexpected for Ernesto to roll up with that, but we do get called. Left-hand side, we are going to defend the 5-6 of diamonds. Pretty reasonable flop for us here, Multi Way. Going to fold out of position to the spaceman. Headless spaceman. We see a bet from what we assume is a regular and Loraka. I don't think we could definitely consider a raise here. It is a pretty dry board. Paputos, I don't think c-bets here too liberally, so he's going to have an overpair a reasonable amount of the time, which is not ideal for us. I think we can just take a turn with all our backdoor equity. It'll be pretty interesting if Paputos decides to bet this turn, because I don't anticipate him betting like 8s or 9s here. He does bet 4. And I think we could potentially bluff. Because it looks like maybe he is betting something like 10s, jacks, queens for thin value. We do have a blocker to a set and some 2 pairs with our 5. And we do have outs. I think raising is probably good. We can represent a decent amount of 2 pairs, even a 3-4 suited that defends in the big blind. We do get jammed on. What are we getting here? 33. Probably not the correct price to call. I mean, this is going to be 2 pair most of the time, or better. So like our 5 potentially is an out, our 6 maybe not. I guess we're just folding, sadly. Disappointing. I do feel like raising is fine. Most likely. You could definitely just call the turn. Again, you're getting a perfectly reasonable price to draw. But against a small sizing that looks like a better hand going for somewhat thin value, I don't mind a raise. I think as well, if he has a hand like ace-10 that does decide to c-bet flop and then tries to go for value on the turn, he may call turn fold river with it as well, and that's going to be pretty reasonable for us. I think because I'm an unknown to him, his calling range is going to be very strong. Or will have to be very strong. So he has no guarantee that I'm going to be bluffing that spot too often. Sadly, he does ship the turn, though. We're going to go for about 30 minutes for each video. So around 20 minutes or so of further action. Hopefully things pick up a little bit on the left. Every time we're not involved in the pot, Laraka seems to want to be putting money in. But we've only really tangled with your man Paputos here so far, and Ernesto a little bit on the right-hand table, the Poker VIP table. We will just fold the 6-7. We could definitely consider some wider opens because of Laraka in the big blind, but I think 6-7 offsuit is a little bit too much. 6-7 suited, 100% going to be raising it. Shan't be raising this. Can I have my hand back, please? Viva Valdez winning with the 10s on the right-hand side. Paputos taking the pot down with a c-bet on the flop. And again, we will just make the fold here. 9-2 off. Not a hand we ever want to do anything with, other than fold. And Queen 5 off. Probably just letting this one go as well. Not even going to attempt to. I mean, we could probably attempt to steal. I feel like Viva Valdez is gonna defend way too wide for this to be profitable, though. And it's a hand that just has no playability, especially out of position. And I do anticipate a very, very wide defending range here. Folding once again. And we get a very quick walk with the Queen 3. I'll not complain. Wouldn't be surprised to see a limp from Laraka. If we do see that limp, we will come along for the extra 25 cents. But Ernesto going to isolate here a very decent amount of the time. We should be 3-betting this spot pretty liberally. This is definitely not the hand we want to do it with. But we should definitely be 3-betting Ernesto here pretty liberally, given how wide he will be isoing Laraka. We want to be putting pressure on him. But we'll just fold. Always rooting for Laraka to pick up some cash as well in his pots. Obviously, the more money he has, the better it is for us. Given that it's going to be easier for us to take money off this guy, hopefully. One would imagine. At the moment, it's not proved particularly easy for us to take money off anybody. King 9 off, a little bit too loose to open from early position. Laraka with the bet gets called and shows the Queen 9. Gets picked off by King 5 here. As I said, he's going to be isoing pretty wide. I think King 5 of clubs is fine. Queen 9 off. making that pretty loose river bet. This is a situation again where he's definitely ice-wing wide. I think this is an okay hand to use. We do have an ace blocker. Certainly not ideal, right? But I think he's just ice-wing so much of the time that we can probably get away with being a little bit naughty in this situation. Loraka limp overcalls, which is a little bit surprising, unexpected. But we're gonna play in position against him, which is okay. We have the ace of spades here. I really don't want to get check raised. And we have some showdown value against what is a very wide range. I think just checking back flop is going to be okay. Naturally, we will call turn for €4. We have a pair, a 4, an ace, probably good. We could even have the best hand against, like, he had queen 9 previously, queen 9, queen 10, 10 8, 10 9. And we have the ace of spades as well, so definitely a call. River is not going to do us any favors. Should I bluff against Loraka? Honestly, I think we can potentially get him to fold like 9, 10, queen 10. Because it would suck to check, check, and lose to like 6, 7 as well, which I definitely think a possibility. So we will bet. And we get promptly called. And he has the 2 pair for the 10, 7. I was aware that his range for betting the turn was really wide, as I said. And I do think if he does river a 1 pair hand, we're probably getting a fold. Sadly, he makes 2 pair at the river with the 10, 7 of clubs, and we're not ever going to get him to fold that. A little bit unfortunate. I still think there's merit in bluffing the river, because he's just going to have so many hands. Like, if he's betting a 7 on the turn, the 10, 7 of clubs, then he's betting, as I said, 6, 7 of hearts. And I think if he does get to the river with 6, 7 of hearts, he's going to make a fold. So definitely happy with my bluff. It's just this time his crappy 7 got there on the river. We do flop a set in a multi-way 3-bet pot in the 5-cent, 10-cent game. Of course, we're always going to run good at 5-cent, 10-cent and run into it at 25-cent, 50-cent. Honestly, there are too many bad turns for us to want to just call here. Like a 6, a 2, a 7, a spade, an ace. Even like a queen or a king are potentially going to kill our action. So just going to raise to 5 and play for stacks here. All right, Viva Valdez, let's dance. He has the 10 and the 6. He's got a lot of outs. Quads is good for the first run, and he wastes a spade. And somehow we managed to hold both runouts against a straight draw and a flush draw. So that works out well. As I said, of course, we're going to run good in the 5-cent, 10-cent game. Always the way. But obviously, I think once we get post-flop, both players are fine. He did squeeze pre, I believe. With the 10-6 suited. Yep, it went. Djokovic opened, called, 3-bet, Djokovic called, and then I came along for the price. I think his 3-bet is probably okay. You know, it is what it is. It's a little bit wide out of the big blind, but he's going to want some bluffs there. 10-6 suited, not the end of the world. As you can see, it can flop some good stuff. Straight draws and flush draws. We want to be a little bit more polarized 3-betting from the big blind. Just because we're getting a good price. So a lot of the hands that maybe we'd want to 3-bet from the small blind are getting a much better price and can just take a flop when we are in the big blind. He can obviously just defend the 10-6 suited. Given that, you know, it's an extra 20 cents into euro or whatever. But I don't mind a 3-bet. With 9-7, this is just exactly what I'm talking about. For the price, obviously, we can just take a lot of flops here out of the big blind. Flop's pretty reasonable. When he checks back, I'm going to put him on a lot of ace highs. We definitely don't want to bet €3, but we will bet 30 cents. We have 9 high, but a reasonable amount of equity. Trying to get him to fold ace high. And hopefully he doesn't river the ace-jack, but that's probably the only pair hand he has at this point. Unless he has something like queen-jack, which chooses not to bet flop. But I think queen highs and king highs, more often than not, are going to bet flop. And he does end up folding the river, which is nice. Loraka on the left, sadly, is now Buster. He loses a €138 pot with king 5. He flopped one pair and called down. Caputo showed 9-7 of hearts, which was a backdoor straight. It's pretty dirty. Had the flush draw on the flop and barreled it off and hit that 8 on the river. It's pretty sick. But Laraka calling down with the king 5. Obviously, this is a very, very, very thin call down. Would not expect that hand to be good for him very often. But I guess that's why we wanted to play pots with him, as we said, because he was clearly the weakest. No offense to him, but clearly the weakest player at the table. He does leave now. I wouldn't be surprised to see this game break, unfortunately. I mean, I'm happy to just play on because I'm just here wanting to make my video and hopefully get some hands in for you guys. But if the table does break, I'll have to grab another one up. So there's plenty running. We'll keep an eye on it. Right hand side, we're going to open the king jack at the poker VIP table. And we're going to fold here. I'm actually going to jump off this one. And we're going to bring this one in right here. Pile. Oh no, they've swapped. Alright, 5-cent, 10-cent table now on the left-hand side. 25-cent new one on the right-hand side. We got this guy here for half a stack, who I think it's going to be probably more interesting for us to play with him to our right. So we shall see. Ah, my old friend Laraka joins this table now, which is beautiful. And we pick up the jacks. We're going to give this a 3-bet to €4. Left-hand side, not a board we want to take a stab with a king-jack, I don't feel, so we'll check back. A lot of the hands we want to get value from on queen 10 queen include a jack, so we want to get value here from like ace jack, jack 9, king jack, and we block those. Obviously we can get some value from a 10, but I don't think we get 3 streets. We can probably get it all in on turn and river if he has a 10. So I feel like checking back here and potentially putting in some bluff catches. Fine, this is cool. Welcome to TonyBet, ladies and gentlemen. I did have a hunch that if we change table, put don'ts on our right-hand side, something fun could happen. I said it. I called it. And we checked back the jacks. He turns a 9 and 3x's the pot all in for €26. We click call. And the jacks hold both runs, as they were more than likely to do so. His 4 was a dead out, so he's really chasing that runner 9. Did not come off. He does go broke, but Laraka's at the table now, so hopefully, again, there's some action there. It's nice. We pick up, recover some of our losses from the first table. But like I say, definitely think against what we assume is a recreational. When he's only got half a stack, I definitely think a check back has got merit, because we can get all that money in anyway, right? Like if he decides to check turn, then we can just bet turn. He can check call a 10. We shove river. He's like, well, he check back flop. It's a wet board. I don't believe him. I'm going to call with my 10. So I definitely feel for the half stack, it's fine to come in with that check. Against Laraka, we could definitely just go to 3 and get calls, but I think 2 is fine. On the button, jack 10, very playable. We expect him to limp call everything that he limps anyway. He's here for a good time, not a long time usually. And I think we will just see that his range is really wide, so he's going to miss a lot of flops just by default. And denial of equity, and this is probably going to get us a free river the vast majority of the time, because turn will check, we can check behind, and that's going to be fine, because we pick up equity like this that we want to be able to realize. I don't think we want to go to town bluffing him. I apologize for the sun, just don't worry about the webcam, it's going to be going really light and dark. So I just don't feel like we're getting too many folds once he does call, so we'll just check back, and I'm not even going to bluff the river against him this time, or am I? Nah, he's already caught me once. I don't trust Laraka to fold a 6, honestly. Definitely not folding queen 8. But gonna raise the ace 4. Opening a little bit wider to target this player again. Yeah, 3-bet, we are gonna fold it though. He's been doing a lot of limping, sort of a passive calling station type player. So when he 3-bets, we just have to credit him for having a strong hand. I would anticipate. We've only got 5 minutes to go here. What I'm probably going to do is clip this one up for part 1, end, but then carry on this session for part 2 of the video series, just because I think playing with Laraka is good action, it's interesting, and we can hopefully get into some, valuable spots. So what I'll do is we'll close this video at 30 minutes, but I'll just roll straight into part 2. So when part 2 is released, you guys can pick up the action again and see how we get on against him. Unless he goes broke here again. He calls, he is going to lose, because this guy's just going to have a super strong hand when he puts them all in. I really don't want to see him call. That's a shame. He calls with ace high for the overbet at the river. Wow. I really hope he rebuys, obviously. He's just donating at the moment. Pretty hard. I'm going to keep an eye on the lobby and see if he pops up anywhere else. Because we are enjoying playing with him at the moment. Sadly, it's not me who's picking him off. It's the other regulars, but he's just a ticking time bomb. We've had a few unfortunate hands against him, and the other regs have made hands against him and been able to get paid. So we'll keep an eye, see where he goes. And I genuinely think that's like, I know obviously people are going to frown on bum hunting, but table selection and like that guy's so much value. You should always be trying to get in games with people like that. As this guy in the chat says, no need to be ashamed of that. I don't know what he's referring to, but I'll steal his quote. No need to be ashamed of just wanting to play against people who are donating as hard as that guy is. We see a player joining on the mobile here. Post doesn't want to wait for the big blind. Usually a good sign of someone who's going to give it a little bit of action. We are going to check the 9-2 though. I think we're okay to check down. We have a pair. We can call turn. Gonna call off the euro here with our pair and open-ended straight draw. We would lead if we improve. We don't improve. Do we want to bluff this card? Turn our hand into a bluff? I think maybe. Although, it's kind of hard to believe he'd fold an 8. So, I don't think we will. We know nothing about this guy. He's playing on the phone and posting. So, I don't anticipate he folds an 8 for 3 euros. So, we won't bluff. Our exploit there should just be to lead all our value. And we do improve on that river a lot of the time. So, just lead all our value for 3 and just expect to get called back by an 8. We should exploit him by never bluffing because we just don't anticipate enough folds. If we thought that he could have a 6 or a 7, there's more merit in it, but I think a 6 or a 7 would bet flop. So when turn checks through, he's primarily going to have an 8. When the flop checks through, rather. Primarily going to have an 8 when he bets turn. Or he was betting the turn with nothing, and our 2 has some showdown value. We are going to 3-bet the ace-queen, just bump it up to 6. If he shoves, we will go with it. We won't be happy about going with it, but for the price, we're already invested for 6. He's only got 20 euros. It will just be a call. You can shove some pairs and we take the flip with the dead money. So, have to go with this one. He does pull up on us with the ace-king, which is less than ideal. And we are going to brick off. But just no other way we want to play this hand, I don't feel, against a 20 euro stack. Give that auto rebuy some tick. As I said, I would anticipate him probably playing like 8s, 9s, probably even 7s plus. Probably like 7s plus. And then occasionally, like for 20 euros playing on a mobile phone, he's probably going to jam ace-queen as well. And occasionally he just makes some like ace-10 suited, ace-jack suited jams for what is 40 big blinds. Someone we think is a fun player. Definitely have to 3-bet, and then 14 euros to call off into that size pot is definitely going to be profitable in the long run. We're having a clickback war between Palmeiras and Ibisirate. And Palmeiras has the ace-5 offsuit. Again, this is definitely a little bit too thin from Palmeiras. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. The games definitely seem good on TonyBet. That's going to conclude part 1. I'm going to roll straight into part 2. But thank you for joining us for this video. Be sure to check back for the rest of the series during TonyBet VIP week. Poker VIP TonyBet week, should I say. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.